All right, hello everybody. It is Coach Steven from Woolery Strength Systems, and today we're going to be going over my max effort lower body day from Monday, September 22nd, 2025. So if you are new here, sorry about that. If you are new here, the structure of these are we just kind of go over the workout and then we go through the workout. So going over the workout, we had single leg wall sets for some tendon health, single leg reverse hypers. I also did some single leg back extensions on the GHR just to try them out. And then we did approach box jumps today. Then our main movement, rack pull versus bands. It was very modified, not a normal rack pull, but it worked out well. Then we went into belt squat, Nordic hamstring curls, which were actually modified Nordic hamstring curls, so I need to switch those. Then we had ab rollouts and then high row machine. Belted marches was going to be extra, but I ended up having class, so I had to run off to that. Now, that was the layout of today. We're starting a new 3-week cycle program, whatever you want to say. These are the last 3 weeks, and then I'll be either doing my own programming or following someone else, another program, something similar. I haven't decided fully what I'm going to do yet, and I need to start thinking about that. However, getting into the workout. So our tonnage, which is an interesting thing here, we can actually track that, which is, again, like I said, pretty interesting, was about 38,000 pounds. And then anyway, getting into these single leg wall sits, pretty simple here, just throwing about 30 seconds a piece. Probably wasn't quite there, but knees been feeling a lot better, so I'm just trying to keep them in to make sure I am still hitting that, keeping them under load and things like that. So just sitting here about 90 degrees, pushing through that leg that's on the ground. That's pretty much it. Pretty simple there. Not going to make us watch 60 seconds of that. Single leg reverse hyper. It took a second to get onto this one, to get into it, but I also didn't know what to do with my opposite leg. So these are going to look kind of silly. I just like my left leg right now is just kind of flailing along with my other one, but these actually felt pretty good. It took me a second to get like used to the feeling of just squeezing that one glute. But honestly, it went pretty well. I wasn't getting it up as high as I feel like I should have been during, but looking now, it's like not terrible, but still not the best from what I'm looking at right now. I don't know. It was very interesting. I'm switching here, and it kind of gets a little bit better. Still, just kind of flailing that other leg. I could have been doing this incorrectly. I don't know really what would be incorrect about it necessarily, but it felt okay. Got me warmed up. That was the main goal. Not too worried about it too much. Going through, then we had these approach box jumps, which I think I accidentally also included. I'm going to run through these real quick. I accidentally recorded the single leg GHRs on these. Pretty simple. Just lock it in one leg, squeezing those glutes at the top. Very similar, very similar to the reverse hyper, except instead of my leg swinging, it's going to be my back, or my upper body rather. Anyway, let's get into these approach box jumps. So I was doing two sets each leg, total of 5, and I'm just taking a one step into it. Right now we're on a 30-inch box. We moved up to a 36-inch on this next set. So again, one of my goals is to dunk a basketball. So I'm trying to like somewhat just put in different jumping. I'm going to use the word styles. So approach jump obviously will kind of carry over to dunking a basketball a little better than just a standing box jump. So I'm kind of trying to put some different things in and just like get a little bit more like movement variability in general. So that is why through the next couple weeks you'll just see a bunch of different jumps. That was my right to left leg right here. Forgot to mention this. So this is my right to left, which is not my natural run up. I'm normally a left to right jumper if I go off 2. I don't know how much better this is going to look, but normally I'm left to right, and to me it felt a lot cleaner. Looking at them now, like they do seem a little similar. This one might look a little more robotic-ish, but honestly, like they both look relatively smooth and similar in all aspects of things, most aspects. Here's the 36-inch, and I think this is just one long video right here. Had to kind of gear up for this. Haven't jumped up on a box this high in quite some time. Again, this is my right to left, or right step. I almost ate it right there. We can kind of just look at this a little bit more and see if we notice anything. I don't feel like anything's too awfully weird with the right to left. I'm very like off, if you notice that at the bottom there. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's going to affect me too much. But if you notice, I'm very staggered with my feet right there versus flat. I don't know how much that's going to change. And obviously, like if I'm going to dunk, like everything won't be perfect either. So, and this is kind of what it is for variable jumps. So, and I think this is still right to left. Yeah. We'll see what left to right looks like and see if it's a little more. So I'm going to call this, I don't know if this is the proper terminology, but it does seem that I'm going to use the word swing leg. So right now I'm left to right. I'm going to consider my right leg my swing leg. Again, I know that's probably not correct. That's just the term I'm going to use. It seems like that leg always wants to come a little further in, and that's probably correct. It felt the most natural, at least for sure. So yeah, I was pretty happy with these today. Hopefully I can get up to like a 40 here soon on in some type of box jump. But that was box jumps. Now we'll go into rack pull versus bands. Now pulling off the floor, which is not quite the floor, but pulls in general are very, very, very new to me still. For the longest time, I was not a fan of deadlifts, so I didn't train them very often. And then I body built, so mostly just RDLs and things like that for hamstring development, glutes, whatever. But anyway, we're gonna get into this. We had a kind of a odd setup, but it worked out well. So here's 135 for I think it was 3. I might have done 4. I honestly do not remember. So please critique me down in the comments if you see anything, because I, again, am not a great puller, so I will take all of it that I can. We're seeing here, trying to get locked in and just thinking about driving my hips through as fast as possible. One thing I noticed is I feel like I'm not sitting back quite as much as I need to. It's right there a little bit. I kind of sit back into it. I think I just need to pull that bar into me just a little bit more. I also went conventional after I've been doing sumo from the small amount of pulls that we have been doing. But this is 225 for 2, I believe. See if this has any difference in it. Sitting back. So I did sit back there at the start pretty well. Bar pass seems to be pretty good for the most part. Getting my knees out of the way, pulling up top. We kind of decided that at the top we are at about 80 to 100 pounds of band tension, give or take. So I don't know how accurate that fully is, just with the weird and kind of odd setup, but that's what we kind of came to our conclusion was about 80 to 100 pounds. So this one was my first single, I believe, at 265. We'll kind of watch it here. And obviously that one moved really slow, which I'm curious to see if I can see. So I think this right here, I pull the bar. I don't know if maybe I didn't start with it close enough to my body or towards my shins, because I seem to kind of pull it backwards and kind of waste a little bit of energy there, because it seems that like I'm really slow, but as soon as I kind of get it straightened out, then it pops up pretty quick for the most part, which was really interesting actually. This is when we were trying to decide. TD was pulling up on to try to decide how much weight we actually had on there. This was, I believe, 285, if I'm doing my math correct. Yes, 285 barbell weight. This was the first one I had my belt on, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this one kind of flew. Yeah, I picked that up, and I literally I didn't feel like I had any weight in my hand. Like, obviously, it didn't go as fast as I think, looking back at it now, but they just felt really, really smooth the whole way through. And I want to see right here if I actually. Yeah, so we can kind of see the difference in that pull right there. So right there, it travels in, let's just call it right here is the kind of starting point. This is right here, right before my pull. If I get this drawing tool out, we'll draw a straight line up the barbell right here. And we'll see how much it veers off, if any, which it does veer off a little bit. So it comes off just a little bit. right is still above the midfoot. My camera angle is a little more. The boxes were a little tilted. I noticed later on, but so this is how much the bar veered off. This could also make me look really silly if this is incorrect, but um, that one veered off that much. And then let's see how much this kind of pulls off center. Because, like I said, I feel like I moved the bar a lot more horizontal than vertical. I don't know. I actually don't know. The bar path seemed like similar, but that start, I feel like I just moved it very horizontal um, on that first pull. And I'm looking, I don't know for sure. Again, pulls are still new to me. So if my shoulders should be that far in front of the bar, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, honestly. And that's something I need to kind of look into a little bit more. And then here is a 315, which would end up being my top set 345. Would not move off the ground. Just would not move. I'll show you that momentarily, of course. We'll skip through to get to set up for here for 315. Again, this being my top set that I actually hit. Pulled again a little slow off the start, but it seems to be. I didn't quite get sit back quite as far as I wanted to, and I was maybe a little more rounded than I would like to be, but I felt good. Nothing ever like felt just straining too much on the low back or anything. But I think I could have just set my hips back possibly a little bit more. If you don't agree or think of something else, please let me know. Um, again, pulls are just not my strong suit at this current time. So there we go. I was still happy with this pull for the most part, especially with thinking if there's possibly 80 pounds at the top, even on the lower, even if that's the low end of the high, like 80 to 100, or if that's the high end of 60 to 80 or something like that, then I'm pretty happy with that still. And then here's this 345. Like I'm telling you, it didn't move an inch. It was quite embarrassing. I think I tried again, actually. Yeah, it just wouldn't move off the ground. I have no explanation to why. Well, besides I'm like weak at the moment, but that was rack pulls versus bands, so it was pretty interesting. I'm actually gonna go ahead and download this one. You guys will see it on the Instagram potentially. Anyway, moving on. Again, please comment down below if you have any suggestions to help with that technique. I'm still learning pools, and I would like to kind of get better at those to improve my ability to coach them as well as perform them as well. So we had belt squat for an accessory. Just one set was recorded. Did 3x6, and again, I'm really thinking about these as like a Hatfield squat almost, where I'm sitting back as far as possible, simulating kind of that wide stance squat that I'm trying to get with the barbell. Trying to get relatively deep, about parallel most of the time. A couple of the sets I felt like I was getting deeper. This is the first set though, and I was still kind of feeling it out, but I'm still obviously getting decent parallel to the ground. Yeah, pretty good there. And again, just 6, nothing too hard. Again, still like understanding that I don't have to go to failure all the time, just train heavy. And I definitely could have done more than this, but being week 1, I'm going to slowly just kind of build up a little bit more after that. Now, these were the modified Nordic hamstring curls, which were very interesting. So basically what we're doing here, you'll see here, getting out to where I have tension on my hamstrings, and then I'm actually just going to hinge at the hips, leaving the tension on my hamstrings right here, and then pulling up, sending my hips through at the top. Didn't quite get all the way up there, but these were killer, and I recommend giving them a try. And you see, I am struggling to get back up, and of course, I'm not getting all the way up, which I now see, but very, very, very good tension on the hamstrings. And I think what might need to happen for me next time is to actually not. So right now, like I'm feeling tension as soon as I get to there. And I think what I need to do is just try to be a little bit better at staying a little more vertical from knee to hip. so then I can kind of get lower on the hinge and then get my hips through. Because I think I was almost making it a little bit too challenging, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but to make sure I'm getting through the full range of motion with that. But again, this was a new exercise, so I'll learn that over the next 3 weeks as long as that stays in, and I think it does, but I'm not too sure. Then I had some simple ab rollouts for, well, the abs portion of the workout, rolling out, crunching back in. Biggest thing I was trying to focus on here is starting with the crunched ab, reaching out, not letting my lower back arch, and then crunching to pull that back in. Um, Still have not done these a whole lot before. Like, I've done these before, of course, but have never been a staple movement for my core or ab training, whatever you want to say. But I liked them very much. I was sitting in class after, and I was having mini ab cramps, so that is nice. 3 sets of 15 will definitely get you going. Uh, I don't know if I actually. So this was the first set, and I actually did finish all 15 on those. The other ones were broken down into cluster sets, if you will, or myo reps, or whatever you want to say, to get to 15. But that's okay. We'll work with it. And then for some reason I had this set to body weight, so I apologize for that. I'll get that fixed. But we had 3x15. This weight was a little heavy for me, but I did this for one set, and then I dropped it down. Again, I had it set to body weight, so we're just pulling as far as back as we can, getting to at least kind of in line with our back. I like to say as long as I'm getting to about 90 degrees through my elbow, I'm usually pretty happy with my pulls, but I was starting to get a little more limited range of motion on this, but I'm just trying to yank them here and then control the eccentric. For the most part, I'm a little lackadaisical with my technique here, but again, I think some of that just training hard sometimes is also a way to go, but especially when it's like movements like these where it's less chance of injury. Now, that's not giving you all the okay to just go doing anything, and I'm not giving myself the okay, but those last 3 to 4 reps, if you're just rep it out partially to get some more volume in, I think that's great. That just shows some good training intensity. And anyway, going to the metric portion, our difficulty was about a 3 on drawing tool. Difficulty was about let's do a square, 3 right here. And then our duration 75, a little longer than I'd prefer. I'd like to keep it at about 60 minutes, but rotating on a few machines with 3 people, it makes it a little harder. Fatigue 2, and then on our approach box jumps, we hit a 36-inch PR technically. Didn't go for one, but that's what we did today. So hopefully over time, when that rotates back in, we can see that improve, which is kind of the idea. So we'll be able to see similar to like the difficulty metric and duration, etc. We'll be able to see my approach box jumps over time. So yeah, that was the max effort lower body day from today. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about the training, please let me know. If you have any comments to fix my pull, leave those down below as well. So you all have a great day, and like I said, thanks for watching. Bye.